In the digital shadows, there's a world that plays by its own rules, with its own loyalties and a pretty brutal logic. We've been tracking the predators in this world for years, but what happens when the entire game gets flipped on its head?
Yeah, what happens when a global coalition decides to just burn that entire world to the ground? Well, let's get into it. So, picture this. May 2024. Suddenly, the floodlights just flick on. International law enforcement launches something called Operation Endgame. And this was an unprecedented campaign designed to do way more than just disrupt Russian cybercrime. The goal here was to shatter its very foundation.
And just look at the sheer scale of this thing. We're not talking about taking down one ransomware group. Nope. Endgame went after the entire supply chain, from the initial ways in, like ASHBYTE and Quackbot, to the absolute powerhouses like TrickBot and Conti, and even the money laundering services that make the whole thing profitable. This was a full-spectrum, no-holds-barred assault.
Okay, but this is where it gets really clever. The operation wasn't just about seizing servers, they were playing mind games. They released these targeted videos, directly calling out known hackers by their handles. The goal? Pure paranoia. To fracture trust from the inside out and make these guys turn on each other.
And look, to really get why that psychological hit was so important, you first have to understand the world they were trying to tear apart. It's a world built on this fragile, unspoken agreement, something we call the Dark Covenant.
Now, this isn't some simple top-down command structure. The Dark Covenant is more like a pragmatic bargain, right? It's a deal. Cybercriminals get recruited or protected or sometimes just flat out ignored by the state, with one big condition: as long as what they're doing doesn't hurt Russian interests and, maybe helps them out when needed.
So how does this actually work? Well, it kind of operates on 3 different levels. First, you've got the direct stuff. Intelligence agencies literally handing out assignments to criminal groups. Then there are the indirect links, hackers bribing officials for a little protection. But the biggest, most powerful link, it's the simplest one, the unspoken deal. The state just looks the other way, giving them a safe place to operate, as long as they don't cross any invisible lines.
All right, so Operation Endgame comes along and puts this immense pressure on. What does Russia do? Did they launch a massive crackdown? No way. What they did instead was precise, calculated, and super selective. It was basically political theater.
And this right here, this is the perfect illustration of how they think. On one side, you've got the protected groups. Think Conti, TrickBot. These guys have members on the EU's most wanted list, but Russia? No significant action. Why? Well, there are whispers of FSB ties. Then on the other side, you have the sacrificed, the money launderers like Cryptex. The second the West applies heat, boom, Russia puts on a big show, arrests over 100 people, sees millions. See the difference? Some are assets, others are just expendable.
And if you look at the timeline, you can see exactly how it played out. You get these big, splashy public arrests. A TrickBot guy here, 100 launderers there. See, each one on its own looks like they're cracking down, right? But when you put them all together, a different picture emerges. It looks a lot more like a carefully choreographed dance, designed to make the West back off without actually hurting the most viable players.
And hey, if you think those high-level connections are just a theory, check this out. This isn't some classified intelligence report. This is a quote from a Quakebot developer from inside their own leaked chats. He's just saying it, plain as day. The leader of TrickBot was linked to the FSB. I mean, that's the quiet part said out loud. That's where the protection comes from.
So what happened next? Well, the fallout from all this was immediate, and it was chaotic. Think about it. This is an underworld that runs on reputation and trust. And now suddenly, there's this chilling realization that the state could just throw you to the wolves at any moment. That didn't just cause a little worry. It created a massive trust fracture that just ripped right through the community.
And just like that, all the old rules were out the window. The forums suddenly crawling with scammers and impersonators. You had ransomware bosses cheating their own partners. Every single conversation turned into this paranoid debate about who was a rat working for the cops. The whole social fabric of the place just fell apart.
And listen to this. This quote from a forum member, a guy called Mike Melton, just nails the new reality. He's saying that reputation, it doesn't mean anything anymore. It's not about your skills or your track record. It's just about how much cash you can put up as a deposit. Trust is dead. It's been replaced by a security deposit. Wild.
But here's the thing. Don't mistake all that chaos for a total collapse, because this market is incredibly resilient. Take a look at this. Yeah, public ads for ransomware as a service went way down, but look at the number of new programs that still launched, 21 since May 2024. So the business model isn't dying, not at all. It's just adapting. It's going underground, becoming more private, more exclusive, with way stricter rules.
And of course, all of this is happening on a much, much bigger stage. That idea of a safe haven, it's not gone. It's just evolved. It's become more official, more controlled by the state. It's now a key piece in this massive global game of geopolitics.
I mean, check this out. High-value Russian hackers who get arrested overseas, they're not just criminals anymore. This timeline of prisoner swaps tells you everything you need to know. They've become strategic state assets. These guys, some with deep Kremlin ties, are being traded back and forth in high-stakes negotiations. They're not prisoners, they're bargaining chips.
So what you have now is this world with two completely opposing playbooks. Over in the West, policies are getting tougher and tougher. We're talking mandatory reporting, trying to ban ransom payments, even launching their own offensive cyber ops. But in Russia, the game is totally different. Their calculus is all about management. They use selective enforcement at home, they give out lenient sentences to keep their guys happy, and they use the ones who get caught as diplomatic leverage. It's a whole other world.
And that brings us right to the new reality we're living in. The old idea of Russia as this simple safe haven, a place where anything goes, that's over. It's outdated. What it is now is a managed market. And in this market, it's not the rule of law that decides who thrives and who falls. It's the state's interests. They decide who gets protected and who gets sacrificed.
So all of this leaves us with one last pretty unsettling question. In this new world where the state is pulling the strings, are these cybercriminals really the predators we always thought they were? Or have they become something else entirely, just pawns in a much, much bigger game?